Hello and welcome to Game Gumbo. Today we're going to be unboxing Too Many Bones from Chip Theory Games. Some of you may already be aware of this game because it was released in 2017. However, recently Chip Theory decided to send the game to retail, where before it was only available through their website or Kickstarter. So you may be able to see this game on your shelves at your local gaming store soon. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like inside. So first thing you'll probably notice about this game, if you do see it at your local store, is that it is quite heavy. It's one of the larger games and heavier games. Chip Theory calls this a dice builder RPG, but in many respects it's going to be similar to games you may be familiar with like Gloomhaven, Descent, or Imperial Assault. It's a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, so it can be played solo. It plays in about 60 to 120 minutes. So first up here, we have just a little promotional guide for Chip Theory games and their other products. The rule book. And finally, the components themselves. Now you see why Chip Theory calls this a dice builder game, because there's a lot of dice involved. Down here, you'll have dice for the various characters available to play in the game, as well as generic dice for enemies. Here you'll have basic attack dice and defense dice, as well as some status dice, such as poison. Up at the top, you have the characters dice. So if you play a particular character, you'll have access to their entire collection of dice, which you will use as they level up. These are just stat dice, so they'll be used to denote your character's different stats. You have some extra game trays for your dice, so you can divvy them up between the different characters and have 1 per player. Here you have a couple decks of cards. So you have items here. These are the major enemies that you'll fight. Cardstock on this is very good, by the way. So these are the major enemies. And essentially when you start a game, you'll choose one. They have game length here at the bottom, so you can decide based on how long you want to play. Then these symbols down here are the types of monsters you'll encounter when attempting this boss. And then here you have the amount of days that you have to defeat the boss and how many successes you need, which you'll get through events. So as you can see, there are several different options and they vary by game length. Here you'll have special encounter cards. This will be a large portion of the game, the encounters. Essentially, you'll go through encounters and they'll have text here, flavor text, and then on the back, you'll have choices that can be made. And these encounters are what you'll do for the majority of the game. Again, trying to accumulate successes, which you can see at the bottom left here, so that you can fight the end boss. Another deck of cards here. It should be more of the same. Again, more equipment cards, loot cards in here, as well as some other special encounters. So these Tyrant Encounters are specific to a type of tyrant that you're fighting, the end boss. You'll see here, very helpfully, they've put at the bottom of the cards so that you know that this is for Gendrix, the Tyrant Gendrix, and this is the second of 2 cards. One of the nice things about this game is that they have labeled most of these cards so that you can find them again and you know exactly what to put in when you're playing a game. There's no searching about for the specific cards you need. At the base of the box, we have character guides. So these are just guides that'll tell you basically little cheat sheets. It'll tell you about your specific character. If you're playing Picket, it'll tell you the difficulty of playing them both in a group and solo, and then the different dice that are available to them. This is the battle board, which is a neoprene mat. The top rows are labeled. This is where the enemies will go. And the bottom rows are where your player characters will go. And then the initiative track here, which the dice will sit in like so to tell you who's next up in initiative. Then you have the character boards, which again are nice neoprene mat material, and give you all the information you need about your character, such as their starting stats. Again, you can slot these dice in when you gain stat upgrades to denote that your attack or defense or what have you is higher. Then you have the different rows for your abilities. These are essentially special abilities that your characters will have access to when you put dice there. And then you have this section down here, which is the actual ability dice, which are specific to each character, that you unlock during play. Sometimes you start with them, but usually you unlock them. And then up here, you also have some innate abilities that this character patches has. There's one mat per character in the game. And of course, they'll have their own selection of dice. Finally, we have chip theory is probably best known for poker chips. And they use poker chips for a large portion of this game. The red ones, very simply, are used for hit points, tracking hit points. But there are, of course, other chips which are used for different purposes. This one on top is actually the day chip, used to track what day you're on. These black ones are monster chips, and they have different values. So they have 1 value chips, they have 5 value chips, and they have 20 value chips, which are usually the tyrants. I'll just show you one of these 1 value chips at the top here. So a monster will have a health value and a movement value, and then possibly special abilities. It tells you it's a melee character and what dice it rolls when it attacks. So this, if it would be on the battle board, say, because it has 3 health, would have 3 chips underneath it, like so. And then every time you damage it, you simply remove 1. And we have the chips here, which are different colors. And these are for the different rows, columns on the battle board, as well as the player characters themselves. So you have chips for the player characters, and then you have numbered chips for the different columns on the battle board, so that you can determine that this enemy was put out on column 1. In case it matters, some abilities will reference the column that the monster started in, specifically their initiative. So there'll be a die associated with this token that'll tell you when this character or this creature activates. And that's everything that will come in the retail box for Too Many Bones. Now you can find this game at your local gaming store, along with the expansion Undertow, and as well as additional characters. You can also find the game at Chip Theory Games. This box itself retails for $130. But as you can see, just from the tyrants that you have available, there's quite a lot of content here. The expansion Undertow is also available, retails for $90, and then the other characters retail for about $25 a piece. We hope you liked this video, and we hope to do a lot more of these. So if you have any input or suggestions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I will leave a link to Chip Theory Games in case any of you are looking for this and can't find it at your local stores.